A warning from Moscow is rippling across Europe. A senior Russian lawmaker claims the West is running out of weapons, money, and political will to keep Ukraine in the fight. And now, Germany's decision to halt Patriot missile supplies is being seized as evidence that Europe's resolve is fracturing. The message from Moscow is blunt: support is fading, and time is on Russia's side. The comments come from Leonid Slutsky, chairman of the International Affairs Committee of Russia's State Duma, who reacted sharply to statements from German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius confirming a pause in Patriot air defense deliveries to Ukraine. Slutsky said the range of opportunities to support Kyiv is shrinking fast, arguing this is not a technical issue but a political shift. He stressed that Germany has been Ukraine's single most important military donor throughout the conflict, and any slowdown signals deeper trouble. According to Slutsky, Germany is not alone. He pointed to reports suggesting France is also reassessing its priorities, with Paris opposing the purchase of Storm Shadow missiles for Ukraine using broader European funds. The Russian lawmaker claimed Europe is waking up to the cost of sustained military aid, arguing that arms deliveries to Ukraine have weakened Europe's own defense perimeter. He described the situation as a strategic miscalculation that has left European militaries exposed. Slutsky also referenced Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's behavior at the World Economic Forum in Davos, claiming his confrontational tone toward longtime European backers had intensified political fatigue across the continent. He said this shift is empowering political movements across Europe that prioritize domestic security and national interests over continued military aid to Ukraine. According to Slutsky, these forces are now using defense shortages and public frustration to argue against further escalation. Meanwhile, a fierce tussle is brewing inside the European Union. Hungary and Slovakia are gearing up to sue Brussels over its plan to ban all Russian gas imports by 2027, a move EU leaders insist is crucial to shatter Moscow's stranglehold on Europe's energy supply.
A fresh legal battle is brewing at the heart of Europe, and it's about energy, sovereignty, and Russia. Hungary and Slovakia are preparing to take the European Union to court, vowing to challenge Brussels over its decision to ban all imports of Russian gas. The announcement came as EU leaders formally approved legislation that will end gas purchases from Russia by the end of 2027, a move designed to sever Europe's remaining energy ties with Moscow. Russia supplied more than 40% of the EU's gas before 2022. That share dropped to around 13% in 2025, according to the latest available EU data.
The European Union has decided to stop our import of Russian energy. This is a historic decision. It means that we will no longer allow for Putin to blackmail us. We will no longer allow for Putin to weaponize energy against us. And of course it also means that we will no longer indirect help to finance Kremlin's war. It's also clear that we do not want to replace one dependency with another, so we need to diversify, but first and foremost we need to produce more of our own energy. One of the reasons why we need to produce much more of our own energy is that it is not good to be reliable on any country in the world fundamentally for our energy supply. So we need to be very careful that now that we're moving out of Russian energy, that we're not replacing that dependency with other dependencies. So we're working very hard on, first and foremost, reducing our consumption of fossils by being more energy efficient, but also by producing more renewable energy, and of course also diversifying who it is that we then buy our energy from. So there's no security without energy security. Obviously our societies depend on having access to energy. So first and foremost, to be able to not depend on Russia, that's a part of our security strategy in Europe, but also the protection of our physical infrastructure is very, very important, and that's why it's very useful to have discussions like this with NATO. We in the European Commission also works very closely with NATO on these issues.
But not everyone is on board. Hungary's foreign minister, Patriot, says the ban directly threatens his country's national interests. Writing on social media, he warned the measure would drive up energy prices for Hungarian families and promised to use every legal means to overturn it. Budapest says it will launch its lawsuit as soon as the law officially enters into force, expected in early February.
Hungary's position is that this is a national competence, so Hungary will protect its sovereignty. We adopted a law for this, and it is unacceptable that the European Union initiated an infringement procedure regarding this. This is an important issue. External interference in elections, we have seen examples of this in previous elections. This must be prevented. Every nation has the sovereign right to decide for itself who leads the country, and the integrity of elections is a fundamental national interest. What is also important today here at the General Affairs Council, for which I came, by the way, and Sazon, is the adoption of the repower regulation on the agenda. This is the regulation under which Russian gas and oil would be phased out from Europe. Hungary's position has been clear from the very first moment. We fundamentally oppose this as it seriously harms Hungary's energy security. And in such a difficult situation, when the Hungarian government is doing everything it can under extremely ideal circumstances to protect the low utility costs of the Hungarian people, then the European Council is now attacking Hungary by potentially adopting this regulation. This regulation is deeply flawed, as fundamentally the determination of the energy mix should be a national competence. If we were to partnership, we were to consider it under EU competence, then we shall, this would still be a sanctions regime that would require unanimity. But with a legal trick, they reclassified it as a trade policy issue, thus allowing it to be adopted with unanimity. Thus, it can be adopted by a majority decision. This is what's happening now. This violates the principle of solidarity, fundamentally violates Hungary's energy security. This must be prevented. Furthermore, it violates the Union's competitiveness goals as well, since high energy prices caused Europe to fall behind in the competitiveness race. Once again, under Article 190 of the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union, this would be a national competence. Despite this, the European Union interferes with Hungary's sovereignty and wants to force this decision upon us. From the outset, we stand for the protection of Hungarian people's interests for the utility price cap, and we will sue the European Union Commission and the Council if it adopts this regulation.
Slovakia is following close behind. Foreign Minister Juraj Blanár says Bratislava will also sue the EU, arguing the policy ignores the realities faced by countries still heavily dependent on Russian fossil fuels. At the center of the dispute, how the EU passed the law, Hungary accuses Brussels of using what it calls a legal trick, classifying the ban as a trade measure rather than a sanction. That distinction matters. Sanctions require unanimous approval. Trade rules do not. Hungary and Slovakia both voted against the measure, but were outvoted. EU officials say the ban is essential for long-term security and independence from Russian energy. Critics warn it could send prices soaring and deepen divisions inside the bloc. With crude oil restrictions also expected later this year, the stakes are rising. Meanwhile, Germany, France, the United Kingdom, and Denmark are among 9 countries that signed a landmark agreement to transform the North Sea into what leaders are calling the world's largest clean energy reservoir. The deal was signed at the 3rd North Sea Summit in Hamburg, a gathering aimed squarely at reshaping Europe's energy future. EU Commissioner for Energy and Housing, Don Jorgensen, described the agreement as a clear message to Moscow. No more will we let Russia blackmail European Union member states, and no more will we indirectly fund the war in Ukraine. Under the agreement, countries pledged to deliver 100 gigawatts of offshore wind power through large-scale joint projects, enough electricity to power roughly 100 million homes.
Security, a secure supply system conceived with a European perspective, makes us more independent, makes us more resilient, and therefore more resistant to crises.
Our goal is clear. We want to make better use of the North Sea's enormous potential.
We must connect ourselves, focusing on offshore wind, on our grid infrastructures, on hydrogen, CCS electricity, and yes, for a certain period, also with gas.
Our objective is to establish the world's largest energy hub, and the advantages of this expansion are quite evident. We are significantly enhancing our energy supply security. We are strengthening our maritime industrial hub. We are creating added value and high-quality jobs. And thirdly,
back in December of last year, we, the nations comprising the European Union, collectively delivered a truly unambiguous and very clear message directly to Russia. We will no longer tolerate your deliberate attempts to weaponize our energy resources against us. Let it be clear, we will no longer tolerate your attempt to blackmail the sovereign member states of the European Union, and we will absolutely cease to indirectly provide any funds for the ongoing war in Ukraine.
Now, it is absolutely crucial that the most significant element of this overarching strategy for national independence is to ensure we can deliver a greater supply of domestically produced, environmentally clean and truly affordable energy.
The North Sea, for example, holds truly immense potential. As you're all well aware, we're already producing a substantial amount of offshore wind energy there. But we certainly have the capacity to generate significantly more if we fully harness its vast capabilities.
Well, we absolutely need clean energy, not simply for the crucial process of decarbonisation, not just for creating good, stable jobs, but also to provide us, as Dan so eloquently stated, with truly homegrown clean energy, energy that we ourselves control, not energy that remains under the influence or control of dictators and the various petrostates.
Now, what began as an energy policy is heading to the courtroom, threatening to expose deep fractures inside the European Union over Russia, over sovereignty, and over who ultimately pays the price of decoupling. A river cuts through rock, not because of its power, but because of its persistence. James N. Watkins.